Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the live Q&A with me, Professor Michael Scott. It is an absolutely fantastic pleasure to be with you all here today, and I hope you've been enjoying the new Facebook page look. Facebook has gone and changed all of its settings and ways of doing pages again, so Claire and I have been working on trying to get our heads around what the new page looks like, and hopefully I've managed to find the right way to come live to you this afternoon through the page. So forgive me rather, much more likely to be me at fault with technological difficulties, but hopefully you can all connect in, and it's lovely to be here. So we are kind of on the first steps out of lockdown here in the UK. Schools have gone back. I can hear that collective sigh of relief from parents everywhere, and we are starting to think towards even perhaps when we could possibly go on holiday again in the future, but still quite some way away. Well, it's been quite a week. So thank you both, thank you all, first off, very much for your kind comments in regards to the very exciting news that I'm going to be awarded the Classical Association Prize in 2021 for being the person kind of in the UK bringing classics to a wider attention, which is a huge deal in my world, and kind of a real honour. I remember back, and I'm planning to write a blog post about this, but I remember back to being a PhD student back in 2007, and when you're a PhD student, you're just kind of emerging into the sort of academic world of all the classicists across the UK, putting your head above the parapet of your own university, and you start going to the Classical Association Conference, which is held sort of early Aprilish time every year, and where all classicists of the UK and increasingly those from the US and European nations unite, come together for a 3-day conference held at a university around the UK. And there is days of conferences, and as a graduate student you build up the confidence to give a paper, and it's normally one of your first papers you give, and you're networking and meeting people, other classics grads from across the country, trying to bump into and gather up the confidence to speak to one of the professors you've read so many of their books or whatever it might be. And then at that conference there would always be an address by the CA president, and that would normally take place at a big dinner on the Saturday night, and then there would be the award of the CA prize, the Classical Association prize. And I remember vividly one conference in 2007. I was there as a graduate PhD student that was held up in Liverpool. And the dinner that night, the main night, was held in Liverpool Cathedral. So we were actually in the cathedral, sitting in tables, sort of having this dinner. And kind of that was the year that Robert Harris was president of the Classical Association, was giving us a talk as president, and Tom Holland won the Classical Association prize. So quite a kind of year, and that sticks in my mind because that was the first time when I sort of thought, wow, this I would love to, kind of make my way in this academic world and find a place for myself in it, and also thinking about what I wanted to do with classics, which was really to speak out and make sure it got as wide an audience as possible. So I was always hugely admiring of those who won the Classical Association prize. So yeah, 2007 to 2021, now I've got to do my maths, that's a 14-year gap, kind of from that moment through to this, and sadly, thanks to coronavirus, we're not going to be able to get the chance to have that conference in person this year. The conference is online, but the advantage of that is that if you were so inclined, on the 7th of April, you can tune in for free to the online conference from the Classical Association, just for that section where you can watch both the presidential address and then Natalie Haynes presenting me with the Classical Association prize. So Natalie herself, a winner of the Classical Association prize some years ago, kind of presenting me with the award, and I'll be saying a few words as well. So kind of do, if you can, tune in to watch that, and we'll put the link on the Facebook page for you to register for the Classical Association conference. So we're hoping that while we can't all be together and have a conference as normal, and all gather together for a dinner, going live online will allow us to bring in people to join us from around the world. So thank you again very much, not only for your kind comments in response to the news of winning, but I am reliably informed thanks to many of you for actually writing in and suggesting and putting me forward as a candidate. And that was made very clear to me that kind of from the committee deciding on the award that it was hearing from individuals who felt that they had benefited from learning about the classical world through engagement with the Facebook page or through the live Q&As or through talks, etc., that really were very important, hearing those voices in helping them make their decisions. So thank you very much indeed. And it is also prize week for you guys. Yes, you know what we do every month or so. We look back through the Q&A questions that we have been able to answer and over the last month or so, and we pick the best one to win a prize. So I've been going through the questions that we have asked and answered over the past couple of weeks. And for me, a drum roll, we still need. Facebook haven't invented a drum roll. You think with all this reorganization, we need an online live video drum roll here, which is the award is going to Patrick Hayes for his question of, did ancient empires have political borders? And if so, what kinds of customs and controls were in place? Thank you very much indeed, and congratulations to Patrick. So Patrick Hayes, please do get in touch through the Facebook page, and you can have a choice. If it's not too late in the year to have a final copy of a calendar for 2021, we're happy to send you a calendar, or you can have a book. So let us know what you would like, and we will send it out to you as a prize. Thank you so much to everyone sending in their questions. It's absolutely brilliant. And you're absolutely right in the chat as well. A big thank you to Claire, who does an amazing job keeping this Facebook page on the road, and keeping me on the road with the Q&As as well, and talking, I know, with you all about all of your thoughts and interests in the ancient world. So a massive thank you to the whole team from our side, and particularly to you guys as well. It really is absolutely fab, and kind of a real honour and a privilege, and quite a moment, quite a tear-jerking moment, I have to admit, in the kind of history in one's career as a classicist. So we've prizes, but we must get on and answer some new questions as well. So I've mentioned the updates to the Facebook pages. Hopefully you're navigating through these, just slightly new look to the page, etc. Just make sure that your notifications are set up so that you do get our posts, because we've had some problems in the last couple of weeks with people saying they just weren't getting any posts anymore in their feed. So do just check your notifications are in good order. And we will go on. Tracy Rabiotti has asked a question actually linked to the CA prize. So, given the fantastic news about your well-deserved award, bless you, Tracy, which made me wonder whether awards were given in the ancient world for anything other than sporting achievements or plays, and how did they celebrate? So this is a great question. Love this question, Tracy. Thank you so much. Now, yes. So when we think of awards and competitions, we do kind of think, don't we, immediately of the athletic competition. So we think of the Olympics, ancient Olympia, or of the athletic games that were also undertaken at Delphi, at Izmir and Nemea in the Greek world. And of course, fundamentally and famously, the prize for those competitions was not money, it was not wealth. The actual prize that you got was something very, very simple. It was a crown made of a particular kind of branch, and the branch kind of varied. The tree that it came from or the plant that it came from varied depending on the games that you were at. So kind of not something you would think worth spending a lot of time fighting for, but of course with that crown came fame, kleos, or timer, as the two words in the ancient, famous words in the ancient Greeks for having won at the Olympic Games or the Pythian Games or Isthmian Games or Nemean Games, etc. And so that was what people were fighting for. And then after that, obviously, you would have a statue put up of yourself, perhaps by your city might put up a statue of you at Olympia or indeed at home. You may be able to have paid, if you were quite wealthy or had a wealthy sponsor, for someone to write an ode in your honour. So the Pythian odes, Nemean odes, Olympian odes, they're all written by Pindar, specialised in writing poetry to honour and praise victors. And so you could have a poem written about yourself, which sounds rather nice as well. But kind of what else? Those kind of awards didn't only get given at athletic competitions. Alongside the athletic competitions at those same sanctuaries, and particularly Delphi was famous for this, there were musical competitions. So people would turn up to play different musical instruments, they would turn up to sing, and there would be awards for those as well. Now, over time, as you moved more into the Hellenistic and Roman periods, those could also be financial, as well as kind of more sort of tokens that denoted the honour that you had received. And then, of course, we've also thought about plays. Tracy mentioned plays, so we're thinking about the Athenian dramatic competition. So thinking about the playwrights who put forward their plays, and of course over the City Dionysia festival in Athens each year, 3 playwrights would put forward 3 tragedies and a comedy, and then one of them would be judged the winner. And at the equivalent festival for comedy, the Lonaia, there would be a similar competition for a winner there. And don't forget, interestingly, that with the plays, it wasn't just the playwright who won, but actually, almost more importantly, it was said to be the play sponsor who won. So a rich Athenian would often be asked to sponsor the chorus of the play, and if he won, then of his playwright won, then he was able to put up a monument to himself within Athens. Now, this starts off as something quite, again, restrained, a kind of a tripod, a 3-legged kind of cauldron thing that would be the equivalent of a cup, effectively. But over time, these things get massive. And many of you who have been to Athens in recent years may well have seen the monument of Lysicrates, which is tucked away in a nice little side street as you're sort of walking around the base of the Acropolis. There's a very nice restaurant cafe just by it. And it looks like a sort of weird sort of water tower with a nice top on it that's sort of sitting there and kind of in the middle of a modern street nowadays. But that was actually a monument set up in the 4th century by one of the chorus sponsorers, Lysicrates, for his victory in the plays. But other things you could win. So, for instance, if you took part in the sporting competitions at the Athenian festival of the Panathenaea, which is their equivalent, Athens' equivalent of the Olympics, you didn't win a crown made of a tree branch. You won a particular shaped ancient vase that normally had a lovely painted image of Athena on it, filled with special, very fragrant, very expensive olive oil. Right? And we know that Athens actually had entire olive groves dedicated just to producing the oil that it would then give out as prizes at the Panathenaic Games. So you could walk away groaning under the weight of a Panathenaic amphora full of prize oil. So that's, of course, thinking in the Greek world. Don't forget, in the Roman world, where are we thinking? We're thinking gladiatorial competitions, kind of other kinds of competitions, fighting the beasts in the arena, where your prize was not being killed and winning the kind of the love and affection of the crowds. Right? That was what you were aiming for. But interestingly enough, across the kind of Greek and Roman worlds, outside of those major competition moments, sport, kind of competitive sport as a sort of hobby, was not something that the Greeks or Romans, in fact, actually went in for. So there were no equivalents of the kind of local football teams, local rugby teams, hockey, netball, all of those kind of sports. The sports existed, some sports existed that people did, and they might do it from a point of view of exercise, for instance, but they were not part of the, in that sense, the kind of run-of-the-mill normal way in which people would spend their day. So, brilliant, Tracy, thank you so much for your fantastic question. We've also had a question from Yasim Kutkan Öztürk. I apologise if I have not pronounced your name correctly, who is a PhD candidate in architectural history at Meta University in Ankara. So welcome to the live Q&A. Thank you so much indeed for joining in. And you've asked about Phrygian caps. Right, so what are we talking about here? Well, a Phrygian cap, if you look at ancient vase painting, particularly Greek world, but also indeed Roman world, portrayals either in vase painting in the Greek world or in relief or statuary, and certainly in the Roman world and statuary. And you look at the headgear that particularly Eastern foreigners depicted in these Greek and Roman depictions are wearing, you will often find them wearing something that is called the Phrygian Cap, which is a rather sort of kind of louche piece of material. It's all sort of slightly soft, slightly furry kind of thing. It's sort of with an attractive little kind of kink in it to one side, but it differs very much from the hardened Greek warrior or Roman centurion helmet kind of that you see all the Romans and Greeks in. Now, the Phrygian cap, Yasim's question is, why is it called a Phrygian cap when actually we know that it does have some associations with the Phrygian god Attis, as Yasim has pointed out, yet it's also depicted being worn by Mithras during the Roman period, so it comes from any number of cultures kind of from the East, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Kind of this terminology of Phrygian cap. Tea cozy, says Fiona. Brilliant. Yes, that is the best description I have ever seen of a Phrygian cap. It's a tea cozy. Love it. Yes, tea cozies. So Phrygian caps, tea cozies, and they seem to have just now all been called Phrygian caps for no actual specific geographical reason. It's not supposed to denote exactly where this Phrygian cap has come from. It's just that the earliest depictions, or the earliest seem to have were called by scholars Phrygian caps, and as a result that has caught on as a sort of way of describing the caps that all sort of Easterners were put in the artistic representations of the Greeks and Romans. So if you go to Trajan's column in Rome, you'll see the Dacians that Trajan sort of fought against, kind of also wearing Phrygian caps. But equally in the arch of Septimius Severus, you can see Parthians kind of wearing Phrygian caps as well. So over centuries and centuries, poor old kind of Roman enemies, Roman foreigners, the barbarians over to the east, all got shoved in this Phrygian cap. So Yasim, thank you so much indeed for your question, and great to have you with us. Alexis, hi, welcome to the party. You're never too late. Lee Edmond has been in touch also as a teacher and has been chatting with their Year 8 class in their classical civilization lesson now. And he's made the point out that he's definitely the teacher of the class, whereas I think in a previous Q&A, I think I may have confused you, Lee, with one of the students. I apologise. But your question this is, what's your preferred etymology of the word tragedy? Kind of nicely linking in with some of the discussions we've had about prize winning. So tragedy, yeah, it's a weird word, isn't it? And someone's already mentioned the goat that might have been a prize in the tragic competitions. Now, why are we talking about goats? Well, because the word tragedy is actually quite complicated to explain the origins of. And Lee, it'd be good to hear what your class thought as well about this. But the two sort of kind of main, if you like, ways of explaining this are tragos, translating as goat, and oder, coming from eidein, meaning to sing. So it's the kind of the singing contest for the goat, in which there was a goat prize. And one of the origins of the word tragedy, as a result, we think might have been that it came out of a competition in which a goat was a prize, and you were performing for your goat prize. Who knew that people did actually, once upon a time, fight one another over goats. But there is also another kind of way of thinking about this, which is less popular in terms of where the word tragedy comes from, which is trigos, which kind of means a grape harvest. So it's the singing at the time of the grape harvest. So you've got this idea that that's kind of when the festival takes place. And then, okay, again, if we move away from goats, we can get more to sort of goat-like satyrs as well, those kind of half goat, half man satyr characters that were very fundamental to actually the original kinds of performances, that before things evolved into the complex tragedies that we know of Aeschylus, Euripides and Sophocles and the satyr play, there seems to have been a kind of earlier single version of this, which is known as a sort of dithyrambic kind of performance that was done by sort of satyrs. So there may be some origins for the word tragedy here, also in this kind of original performance by these kind of goat-like individuals. So there's an awful lot of goats. Who never knew that there would be so many goats involved in this story? But my vote, Lee, is probably about that this was the goat prize singing competition. So Tragos Ode. And we see that picked up in the later writers. So Horace, for instance, refers to the song for the goat prize, and that's also referred to in other sources like the Parian Marble. So I would go with singing for the goat prize. Lee, you had one who retired the story of Antigone to the tune of Tragedy by the Bee Gees. Lovely, 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 love it indeed. Brilliant. So you go back to your class and say, I'm with the goat people, is what you need to say, Lee. I'm with the goat people. We need to briefly kind of cut off from the questions to have a quick thought about some of the things that are going on around the world today to do with antiquity. Now, many of you will have been staggered by, as I was, the ceremonial chariot that has been uncovered near Pompeii. Absolutely extraordinary find coming out of the excavations there. Four-wheeled vehicle made of wood and iron with decorations in bronze and tin, almost perfectly preserved when the city was buried in 79 AD. So this is absolutely love this. Equally, underwater archaeology, one of my new kind of favourite areas, the Greek ship that carried parts of the Parthenon in 1802 when bits of the Parthenon were being taken over to particularly to the UK, so the latest diver expedition, it's to the wreck of the Mentor was the ship that sank just off the island of Kythera in 1802. They're bringing up bits of the ship's rigging, coins, the leather sole of a shoe, a token for playing cards, some chess pieces, fragments of cooking utensils, and other seemingly mundane objects. When it sank, the ship was carrying some marble sculptures chipped off the Parthenon in Athens. There we go. And then if you are in Rome, and oh God, would I love to be in Rome right now, because the Mausoleum of Augustus is opening again after it's been boarded off and shut off from the public after over 100 years. This is absolutely superb. It sits very, very close to the Areopagus, of Augustus, which you can visit, part of a brilliant museum, well worth paying the rather steep entry fee to go in and see and admire the sculptural artwork of the altar of peace, the Areopagus. But now you can go and see the Mausoleum of Augustus next door, and you can go inside. It's an 87 metre in diameter tomb to the first Roman Emperor Augustus. It finally due to open to the public today in time for Rome's birthday on the 21st of April. But we can't, of course, travel there until after mid-May. Netflix, Asterix and Obelix are coming to Netflix. I can only imagine who is going to play Asterix and Obelix. I can't kind of worry about that. Can't think about that for the moment. Patricia, I'm the goat, greatest of all time. Oh, that is a good one. I like that. I'm going to start going around calling people you're the goat. That's brilliant. Love it. Nice job. And keep voting for the Brick Fan Lego Ideas. So the Ancient Greek Temple by H.P. Brickster is the latest project to achieve 10,000 supporters on Lego Ideas. So apparently, I didn't know you could do this. You could create a Lego idea and then market it and try and get support from Lego for them actually then to build it and sell it. Keep going with the Ancient Greek Temple. What's on if you would like some things to get involved in? Online courses. Belfast Classics has got beginner classes in Latin and Greek plus a short course on Alexander the Great. Pandora Jar. Natalie Haynes is going to be talking about Pandora's Jar, an online event for the British Museum on the 22nd of March. So do get in with that. There's lots of other stuff that will be flagging and have been flagging on the Facebook page. There's a great new You're Dead to Me podcast on ancient Greek and Roman medicine. And there is also, talking about Lego, the lecture by the Lego classicist himself that he gave for the International Lego Classicist Day back on the 21st of February. So do go and have a look at that, and that's on the British School of Athens website. And finally, from the Actors of Dionysus, you know that I'm a big fan of the Actors of Dionysus. They've got the Odyssey Escape Room. This looks brilliant. To take part in this escape room, all you need are your wits, a phone, or something you can Google things on, and pen and paper. Time yourself against your friends to see who is the true ancient Greek boffin, and you can be following in the footsteps of Odysseus. Absolutely brilliant. So we've got a bit of time for a few more questions. Sarah Scotty is asking, was there an equivalent of the Florida Man meme Did the Romans joke about the stupid and crazy Egyptians or vice versa? Absolutely brilliant. Yes, indeed. So kind of we do get this sense that there were kind of stock jokes. And some of you will have heard before, I've quoted from the joke book, the Philogelos, the Laughter Lover, which is a surviving collection of just over 200 jokes from antiquity that's sort of written in Greek, but sort of dated to the Roman era. And kind of it gives us some of a sense of who the butt of all the jokes in antiquity were. And there are definitely a lot of jokes about intellectuals being a bit daft or trying to be far too clever for their own good. But then there's also a really good set of jokes about stupid people. Or stupid responses to things. So one of them, I think, from the Philogelos is guy goes into the doctor and says, hang on, I'm going to have to remember the joke here. No, I can't remember the joke. I can't do it justice. I'm going to go and have to look it up, and I will come back to you next week with the Philogelos doctor jokes. But intellectuals and stupid people. But we also know that people were had the piss taken out of them for being from certain regions because of certain characteristics of people from those regions. So in the Greek world, if you were from Boeotia, which is kind of central Greece, central mainland Greece today, then you were thought of as being really talkative. You just never stopped talking, and also really gluttonous. You never stopped eating either. Whereas the Spartans obviously had the mick taken out of them for being totally the opposite of that as well. So yes, definitely the people of the butts of all jokes. And then I wanted to get to a couple of other questions. Now, Sarah, actually, you asked another question which you've been waiting so patiently to hear the answer to. Tom, you're asking, are Augustus' remains in the Mausoleum? No, sadly not today. Were they ever? They definitely were to begin with, but where they are now is anyone's guess. It's the Mausoleum is so huge that it's been a kind of monument on the landscape that has never been really sort of buried over. And Mussolini, in fact, built an entire square of buildings around it. So when you're in the square around the Mausoleum of Augustus, which, by the way, has a very, very good restaurant in it, fantastic pizzas. Just looking at the as you look at the Mausoleum, if you're sort of got your back to the river, to the Tiber, looking at the Mausoleum, the restaurant is on your left-hand side in the square around it. I get big thumbs up for the pizzas from there. But yeah, so it's been a sort of monument and ode that many eras of Rome and of Italy's governments have sort of paid homage to, but it's always been closed off, principally because it hasn't really been safe to allow the public into at all, but now it's there. But no, sadly, you can't see Augustus in all his glory. But Sarah, very briefly, you asked a question a couple of weeks ago, and you've been very patiently asking a question. This is a question for all of us, right? If you found yourself in ancient Greece, right, how long do you think you would survive? Which I think is an absolutely brilliant question. And I'll leave it out there, all of you, to let us know how long you think you would survive if you were in ancient Greece. Now, that is not an easy question to answer, because obviously it would depend on sort of who you were. If you were just yourself, as you stand today, transported back to ancient Greece, how long would you survive? Probably you'd be set on fairly quickly as looking very odd and out of place, and possibly a foreigner, and possibly thus a threat. And if you couldn't speak ancient Greek, but just your bar foreign tones, then you would be even more a threat indeed. And so I suspect, particularly if you turned up in the sort of place that wasn't a big fan of foreigners in Sparta, you would get a very cold reception indeed. If you were in Athens, perhaps you might be treated with some bit of interest. And if you turned up when something bad was happening, say there had been an omen in the skies, or the gods were not being kind to Athens or Porton, you could be considered to be the cause of that bad luck, and be facing being chucked out or worse very, very quickly indeed. So I think that's an absolutely brilliant one, Sarah. If you were back in ancient Greece, how long do you think you would survive? I don't suspect any of us would survive very long, and I don't suspect any of us would actually want to be there for very long at all. because it was quite a particularly Athenian society. You would think of it as freedom and liberty and democracy, but actually also quite a hothouse in which you were constantly pressured to be on display. And I think we'd find a lot of difficulty in kind of in dealing with that constant kind of pressure cooker effect, to be on display, to be performing to the outside world, not least sort of going to the gymnasium and getting all our kit off and kind of being there, and then kind of pottering to the agora to talk about stuff, and then up to the pnyx to be part of the assembly if we were a guy, obviously, and then kind of having to make all those tough decisions, and then of course pick up your shield and go off and fight. If the Greeks decided that way, if the Athenians decided to go to war, you were off to join them on the battlefield. So I don't know if I want to get back there at all. Thank you very much indeed, even for a short moment. But if I could be a fly on the wall, perhaps maybe I could be an unnoticed fly on the wall to watch some of the things going on. That would be nice. So Sarah, thank you for those 2 questions. Our half hour is up. So sad that we haven't got to some more of your great questions, but we will be back in 2 weeks' time on the 25th of March. So 25th of March, 5 p.m. I'll be here answering your questions. Do send in lots of questions to the Facebook page or through email to michaelscottacademic@gmail.com. And we look forward to catching up with you on the 25th of March. In the meantime, stay safe, stay well, look after yourselves, and thank you again for being such a fantastic community of people, such fantastic supporters. And I will definitively, as hopefully you will be able to see when you tune in to watch the award ceremony on the 7th of April, how much it is all thanks to you that I'm standing here with this award, as much as anything that I get the joy of doing at the same time. So take care of yourselves and see you all soon. Take care. Bye.